your team looked at a paper, a human trial done by NMN, and you did a post hoc analysis to see whether the signal was stronger based on the NAD changes in the blood. If you recall that, because I remember I read the paper, and I must admit the statistics were a bit difficult for me. The way, but could you kind of say what did you see in that? Because one of the things with NMN is, in mice models it seems to do very well, but in human trials it has had less consistent results. So what did you see in that in terms of how the improvements happen within, if you looked at it with respect to NAD changes in the blood levels?
Yeah. So let's start with the original study I was also involved with. So that's a four-arm randomized control trial. So what does it mean? We have 4 groups. We have one placebo group, and then we have 3 active groups with different dosages of NMN supplies, 300, 600, and 900 milligram. What we were able to show there is that there was a dose-related effect on NAD increase, which is, of course, this is what NMN should do, should increase NAD. So the NAD change was the primary outcome. And we were able to show that individuals who took 300 milligram had a little bit of increase in NAD levels, and then 600 had a much more increase. And then compared to 900 and 600, there was not much more increase, which means at a certain time there's a plateau. And I think that's very important. We need many more studies showcasing us what kind of dosage we should, or people should use. Next to the increase in NAD levels, we also looked at factors like gait speed. So how fast is somebody moving from A to B, and the ability. We also looked at quality of life and many more laboratory markers. What we were able to show is looking at clinical outcome parameters, for example, a gait speed or quality of life, that individuals who took 600 and 900 milligram, they had a much better effect compared to the ones who either took the placebo or the 300, which means that there is a dose relationship, not only with the increase in NAD levels in the change, but also likely, and the disclaimer is it was a small study, with clinically meaningful outcome parameters. So we ask ourselves, okay, if there is a dose relationship, we are seeing a huge variation between individuals, even within the groups, taking 600 and 900 and 300, but even seeing a huge variation in the placebo group, who is actually responding and who is not responding. And that's the paper you are referring to. Mm-hmm. What we were able to show is that it's not so much how much NMN you take, but it's more what the reaction of the body is to predict if you have a clinically meaningful outcome parameter being positive, so that you're walking faster and you have a better quality of perceived life. And there we showcase that it is important that you are taking so much NMN based on what you need, changing your NAD levels by 20 nanomole per liter. And that is the first study which is mimicking a little bit how we would normally conventionally do it in clinical practice. We would, for example, taking the example of diabetes. Somebody has diabetes. What would you do? You would measure the glucose level. You would give insulin, or you would give a drug. And what you would do again, you would measure the glucose level. And you are titrating your drug based on a glucose level. So here, for the first time, we now think to have a cutoff point, so an increase in NAD levels by 20 nanomole per liter. And now further studies we are doing is titrating the NMN based on the NAD levels. And I think that's the way how we should do, because you are reacting differently compared to me. There was lots of heterogeneities in the group, so people are reacting differently to the supplementation, and the needs of how much somebody should take is very different. So first of all, there needs an indication that somebody a participant or in clinical practice already needs NMN. The second thing is how much, for, in a non-answered question, for how long.
Right. Are you doing any NMN trials at the moment? You're in Singapore?
Yes, so we are actively within the ethics phase at the moment to not only showcase and hopefully soon have the answer, how do we measure NED? Because we need to know if there are consumer products out there to measure NED, so how to titrate. And the second thing is we are going to titrate the NAD levels and then give different amounts of NMN to individuals to reach that point of 20 nanomole per liter.